site of the proposed Atlantic Yards project. As you know, there was a big Court of Appeals ruling today on the case challenging the state's abuse of eminent domain to steal my home, the homes of my neighbors, and the businesses in this proposed project site. Though that ruling went against property owners and tenants, not just in this footprint, but all across the state. Here in Brooklyn, the fight against the abusive, corrupt Atlantic Yards development proposal is far from over for many reasons that we will discuss today. We're going to talk a little bit about the case and where we go from here. We have the lead attorney on the case with us behind me, Matt Brinkerhoff. My name is Daniel Goldstein. I'm one of the plaintiffs on the case. We have a few of the other plaintiffs here as well. So thank you for coming out. It was a 6-1 decision. The one dissenting judge was Judge Smith. But I'm going to read briefly from the majority decision. They wrote, "It may be that the bar has now been set too low, that what will now pass as quote-unquote blight, as that expression has come to be understood and used by political appointees to public corporations relying upon studies paid for by developers, should not be permitted to constitute a predicate for the invasion of property rights and the raising of homes and businesses. But as any such limitation upon the sovereign power of eminent domain as it has come to be defined in the urban renewal context is a matter for the legislature, not the courts. It's also a matter for the executive branch, both on the state level and the city level, and the legislature, as the court said. So besides the 4 outstanding lawsuits against the Atlantic Yards project, and besides what the plaintiffs on this case intend to do in the coming days and weeks to keep the government from taking our properties, we are calling on Governor Patterson, specifically Governor Patterson, as well as Mayor Bloomberg, to put a stop to the taking of these properties for this abusive project. And it is up to Governor Patterson if he wants this part of Brooklyn to be the next new London. And by that I mean the infamous Kelo case, where the state of Connecticut, the city of New London, took a whole neighborhood for so-called economic development, and now it looks like this. And just last week, Pfizer, the corporation that instigated those takings, left with their jobs. This is what we will get at this site in Brooklyn if the eminent domain takings are allowed to go forward and if the project is allowed to go forward. The best case scenario would be a money-losing arena and 20 acres of parking lots. That's the best case scenario. That is not a public use, that is not a public benefit, that is not economic development, that is not good for New Yorkers. We're calling on Governor Patterson to stop these takings from happening and the project going forward. And this is the same Governor Patterson who, as a senator in Upper Manhattan, called for a moratorium on eminent domain in New York State. Well, now we don't need a moratorium, we just need the end of these takings for the Atlantic Yards project. All of our state legislators are up in Albany trying to deal with a big financial mess. I hope some of them are paying attention to the brewing financial mess we would have here with a money-losing arena and the state putting itself on the hook for that money-losing arena bond. But we have a number of statements from state officials. I'm going to read one, and then we'll hear from Matt Brinkerhoff. This is a statement from Assemblyman Hakeem Jeffries, who represents this district in Albany. Assemblyman Hakeem Jeffries stated, "I'm extremely disappointed with the decision of the court. The power of eminent domain is extraordinary and should only be authorized in limited circumstances where, unlike this case, there is a clear and robust public benefit. The use of eminent domain to benefit a private developer to build a basketball arena for a team owned by a foreign billionaire is an abuse of this extraordinary power, and I hope that Governor Patterson will choose not to exercise it." There are 4 outstanding lawsuits and this eminent domain issue. Today's ruling is the first step in a long eminent domain process, which would end, if it ends this way, in the taking of people's homes and businesses. But there's many steps to take. There's 3 outstanding lawsuits that Develop Don't Destroy Brooklyn and other community groups are involved in, some of which could stop this project cold. And there's another lawsuit brought by another group of community groups led by a coalition called Brooklyn Speaks, which could also stop the project cold. This project is far from being a done deal. It never was. It still is not. And the fight is far from over, and we expect to win.